Welcome to the Structured Approach channel. Today continuing with the first video in the series on Introduction in Enterprise Architecture. This series consists of 4 videos answering the following questions. 1. What is an architecture? 2. What is an enterprise architecture? 3. Which benefits are provided by an enterprise architecture? And today 4. Which benefits are provided by enterprise architecture frameworks? The series is for all of you being somehow in touch with the topic of enterprise architecture. You might be an executive or decision maker and aim to understand a concept being super relevant to many companies and organizations. Or you might be an architect already knowing about the related concepts but looking for conclusive and consistent suggestions on how to answer the questions mentioned before. So, without any further ado, let's get started with today's topic. What are the benefits of enterprise architecture frameworks? Just for the sake of common terminology, I recommend you to refer to the definition given in the Open Group Architecture Framework TOGAF. An architecture framework is a foundational structure or set of structures which can be used for developing a broad range of different architectures. It should describe a method for designing a target state of the enterprise in terms of a set of building blocks and for showing how the building blocks fit together. It should contain a set of tools and provide a common vocabulary. It should also include a list of recommended standards and compliant products that can be used to implement the building blocks. Using this definition as a starting point, the most common desired benefits of enterprise architecture frameworks can be understood easily. 1. Structured support in architecture understanding, modeling and application. 2. Common guidelines on syntax and semantics. 3. Guidelines on methodology. 4. A comprehensive set of good practice. And 5. Active communities in order to exchange information and experience. To make a long story short, most enterprise architecture frameworks provide all of those benefits. However, since architecture is not an end in itself, most architects might agree that all those benefits are a result of the good practice provided by the frameworks. It is a fact that all major frameworks offer not only a bunch of good practice in modeling specific issues, but also repeatable solutions to recurring problems, active communities with reputed companies and/or government organizations, as well as continuous development and improvement. This leads more often than not to consistency not only within one architecture but also across a set of architectures in a repository. As a result, inner architectural usability is in principle feasible, depending on how well the common understanding of syntax and notation, semantics, and common meta models was established in the organization. Last but not least, good practice is the enabler of guidance or methodology as provided in the frameworks. Most beneficial are in particular the provided common approaches which support the optimal interaction of different actors in architecture modeling and maintenance, for example business and IT, and the shared vocabularies which help to establish a common understanding between all stakeholders. Major examples of enterprise architecture frameworks, which basically are all more or less directly related to each other and are also openly available to the public, can be recommended for closer inspection. 1. The Zachman framework is often referred to as the mother of all architecture framework. It provides a matrix representation on the various perspectives and interests of different stakeholders in the context of enterprise architecture. 2. The Open Group Architecture Framework, TOGAF, is a widely recognized framework that is actively developed by a large community of organizations and companies, the Open Group. One major focus is the provided guideline on methodology within TOGAF, the Architecture Development Method, ADM. 3. The NATO Architecture Framework. 4. The Ministry of Defense Architecture Framework. 5. The Department of Defense Architecture Framework. And 6. The Architekturdatenmodell der Bundeswehr, ADMBW, the Federal Armed Forces Architecture Model, are frameworks from military communities. The NAF is being used internationally for NATO system and operation planning. NAF is based on the British MODAF and DODAF from the US. Above all, these frameworks focus on the description of templates, the so-called views, for mapping the interests of different stakeholders in the planning, as well as for mapping the connections between these interests. The ADMBW is the German adaptation of NAF for use in the German Armed Forces. The Federal Enterprise Architecture Framework and the Treasury Enterprise Architecture Framework are architecture frameworks from the public sector of the United States, whereas FAIRF provides guidelines on architectural development, for example in the context of procurement projects, and TAIRF provides adaptation to the specific requirements of the financial sector. This concludes my series on Introduction into Enterprise Architecture. The aim of the series was to provide insights into the concepts and practice of enterprise architecture. In the videos, answers on different typical questions about enterprise architecture have been suggested. The first video provided discussion on what is an architecture. The second one provided discussion on what is an enterprise architecture, and the third and this final video provided the respective discussion on benefits of enterprise architecture and enterprise architecture frameworks. I hope the content of this series was beneficial to you, and I am looking forward to welcoming you in my next videos.